and welcome to this edition of TTTV. Today we're talking about attribution in retail media, and today I've got Jonas from Nexta in the office to go through this. Jonas, thanks for coming in today.
Thank you.
Before we kick it off, Jonas, just talk a bit about yourself and a little bit about Nexta, because people might not know who Nexta is.
Yes. Well, my name is Jonas Allaaoua. I'm a data scientist at Nexta, mostly working with optimization/prediction models together with attribution models. That's most of the tasks that I do.
Yeah.
In terms of what Nexta is, well, Nexta is a software as a service company in the ad tech industry, and what we provide is an omni-channel self-service ad management platform. In other words, we allow retailers and advertisers alike to work together to enable advertisers to understand how well their campaigns are performing on this self-service website or platform.
Brilliant, Jonas, thank you very much. Today we're going to talk about sort of attribution in retail media, and we've got three key areas: integration, optimization, and attribution. So let's kick it off, Jonas, and start with the integration point, because like Nexta's built this amazing platform, one of the sort of like, undiscovered gems of ad tech really for many years. It's great that you're coming out finally and talking about your technology. Let's talk about the integration piece first in terms of the attribution, because you guys are very big on attribution, and that's sort of where we're going. But let's talk about integration first, please.
Yeah, well, for years we've been developing something called Nexta API. It's a unified API, just right here, it's called Nexta API. And it's a unified API connected to the global advertising ecosystem. And what it does is that it seamlessly integrates advertisers to advertising platforms, where we can streamline, and in this space we can streamline the creation and management of campaigns, campaign settings, native endemic ad creatives. You can see results like statistics and reports, and also optimization.
Yeah.
So we give a wealth of information to advertisers to really understand. And I think the struggle here for advertisers has been for some time is that they really want control over every possible functionality.
Yeah.
Because the more we allow them to work with different metrics and different functionalities, the more they're willing to spend. So retailers are also aware of this. They want to let them have as much control as possible, to let their spending be shown in different results.
Yeah. So let's map that out, that integration piece, because I want to see how you work with the ecosystem and how it fits into the optimization piece.
Well, okay, let's say that we have a retailer. This is the retail media site.
Yeah.
And in here you can search, and then you land on some category maybe, and then you have some listings, some product listings.
Yeah.
This is really badly drawn. Some of them are up for sale. Let's just mention those that are. It's like the sponsored ones.
Yeah.
And then you have some organic ones, right? And you could also have maybe some videos, or some banners, whatever. Let's just keep it like this.
Yeah.
And here, the retail media operator or the retailer will talk to an SSP, supply side platform, and tell them, hey, we've got some ad inventory that we'd like to sell. And the supply side platform will talk to its opposite twin, the demand side platform, which directly connects to either, let's say, advertisers or agencies working with advertisers.
Yeah.
So it would be like this. And in here, that's where the trading happens of bidding. So there's a bidding war. And the winners of this war can then launch campaigns on the website. It would create a great deal of exposure, which would lead to a broader range of audience, a broader audience range, allowing them to potentially get a higher amount of conversions. Now, when this happens, for advertisers, it's important to actually see how well their campaigns are performing. And with this, this is where Nexta comes in, because the data that we provide, that we have here from the sponsored listings, goes directly into two sections. I'll make two sections of this. We have the log level data, and we have the, let's say, sales data.
Yeah.
Like this. And this would hold, clicks, impressions, whatever, and this is the actual the actual sales
Yeah.
conversions. This by itself is just a data set, but when you look at it, you can actually see that you can track from the sales, you can infer which touch point from the user journey influenced the user to buy these products. And this is important because if we can highlight these let's say these patterns or these trends, we can give an informed decision to agencies and advertisers alike about how they should run their campaigns.
Yeah.
So this together gives a well-known KPI metric, the ROAS.
Right.
And and all of this data is shown through our Nexta API on our platform. So maybe I should show just fast how our platform works, but it's just a simple cut way of doing it. But we would have like campaigns for a given advertiser in this self-service platform, and then we would have let me just do this because I want to write something. I'll leave it over here. And then we would have a wealth of different commercial metrics that they can look on. Metrics. It could be clicks, click-through rates, impressions, the budget that they're using. And this is for every campaign that they have. And of course, also we would have the KPI revenues. That would be something like ROAS, the sales value, the conversions, and so on.
Yeah.
Things that are really, really important for advertisers because it's a really strong signal that can provide them with so much information, or with information that can help them launch better campaigns. And this platform that I talked about earlier is adjustable real time. And that's what the Nexta API, the integration, helps us do. We can do a seamless integration to these platforms, or we can optimize, we can show the results, and it helps, and we can create new ads, new campaigns, and it greatly helps advertisers to get a quick overview and quickly create new campaigns to help them perform better on the advertising space. So this is much of the let's say the integration part.
Right. So let's talk about the optimization part then.
The optimization then comes. So usually back in the day, you might have a couple of campaigns running. Let's say campaign 1, campaign 2, campaign 3.
Yeah.
And you would be able to see clearly from the budget how well they would work, how well they would perform. But nowadays you can run 1,000, 100,000, 1 million different campaigns just from a single advertiser. And it becomes very difficult to understand which campaigns perform well, which campaigns perform poorly. What we do here is that through the attribution that we get here, this will allow us to have some attribution data. And there's some more I'd like to talk about just in a moment, but let's keep it to this. This is only on the on-site front.
Yeah.
With this data that we have, we can make predictions through our in-house proprietary prediction model, which allows us to budget allocate effectively to different amongst different campaigns.
Right.
So, for example, let's say that we have campaign 1, campaign 2, campaign 3, up to campaign N, where N is an arbitrary number. And then you would have up here, you would have the budget. Let's just call it B. And every bar here represents the amount of budget each campaign has. And then maybe something like this. And then we can maybe see that this is how much they've been using from the budget. Maybe something like this, and then something like this. And maybe for this one, we would see that campaign 1 only generated maybe two conversions in the same time frame as any other campaign. And campaign 3 generated 6. Obviously, what you'd like to do is, what you see here from this simple budget structure is that campaign 1 is performing very poorly, given the high amount of budget, whilst campaign 3 is performing really well, given the very low budget. So what you want to do is that you want to take this budget and you want to transfer it over here.
Yeah.
And this makes sense, right? Because intuitively, you don't want to water the soil where trees won't grow. So you like to choose a soil which helps you grow the best trees. And this is an effective way through optimization tools to maximize KPIs like ROAS.
Yeah.
And we do so by by trying to minimize budget use while maximizing some kind of relevant KPI metric.
So you're able to optimize in real time effectively.
Exactly. And this directly goes, like the results, the adjustments goes directly. We make a call to a Nexta API, which then shows it directly on our self-service platform.
Right, okay.
So these effects is something that the advertiser would see immediately.
Right.
And it would maybe encourage them to use more budget because they know that the budget that they use, that they spent, will be allocated accordingly to which campaigns perform the best.
Right. You talked about ROAS there, just the industry's obsessed by ROAS and optimizing towards a ROAS KPI, right? So you were saying that you can't just look at ROAS in isolation. You have to look at the sales output as well.
Yeah.
So just talk a little bit about that, because like one of the things you've done is the integrations you have with retailers. They're actually giving you sales data, which is like, what are the outcomes from these campaigns. So just talk a little bit about that, because that's important, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the ROAS is a measure that we've been using for a long time.
Yeah.
And I understand the willingness to keep using it, and it's because it is a good metric, but it's not transparent enough to really show how well your different campaigns are performing if you really want to optimize on your campaigns. Mm-hmm. So if I show an example here.
Sure.
If we say that campaign 1, let's just do this, we have 2 campaigns. Campaign 1 has used $7 and generated $100.
Yeah.
And campaign 2 has used $1,000 and generated $2,000. This amounts to around a ROAS of 1,400%. But the actual sales value is $93. And over here, we get a ROAS of, let's say, it's 200%, but we get which is much lower than this ROAS. However, we get an uplift of $1,000.
Right.
So compared to this sale, this is much better.
Yeah.
But the ROAS is much lower.
Yeah.
So to get to really reflect how well campaigns are performing, the ideal approach would be to look at several metrics, not just the ROAS of the sales, which is also why we're showing it on our self-service platform. But of course, it would be interesting to really combine these metrics, find the sweet spot, the ideal metric, which reveals a very transparent result that advertisers can immediately understand and know the clear performance of the campaign.
So finally, let's talk about the attribution piece, because all of this works towards what's really worked for an advertiser. Yeah. So let's just talk finally about that part.
Yeah. So attribution is a means to understand or connect sales value to user activity.
Yeah.
And on the on-site front, from a retail media, what we see is that we only have attribution from this site alone. However, you could, of course, also do off-site displays.
Yes.
So I'll just do off-site here.
Yeah.
Off-site here. And it could be...
effectively retargeting.
Retargeting, which could be like a walled garden or just open web. And the power of retailers, and I like to just mention this because this is where retailers have an edge, is that they have a physical store.
Right.
And this helps a lot because the data they have, and today with privacy concerns and all the stuff that's happening with cookies, what we see is that retailers can provide first-party data. And that's also what the attribution is built on. That's what the optimization model builds upon. And what retailers do to provide as much data as possible, because that's what they want. They want advertisers to keep spending, but they also need to give something to make them spend. And the data they provide comes from various sources. And these retailers, what they have, the strength of retailers is their loyalty programs. So, for example, if you're part of this loyalty program that they invest heavily on, if you really want to expand into the retail media space and create a retail media network, having a loyalty program is paramount to your success. And what they do is that they might give you some discounts if you're a member of this program. They might give you gifts. They might give you early access to certain products. And not only that, but if you enter the store, the retailer store itself, in-store, you might get in-store experts, which will give you the right products, given your preferences. Maybe you have some allergies or something. And all these things help the retailer provide let's say, foster an emotional connection to their customer base.
Yeah.
So you might, like, if you know a retailer that you always buy at, well, that's because you might attach those feelings to feelings of excitement,
right,
or nostalgia,
right,
or what else is yeah, let's just keep it at that. But you know, you get a couple of emotions attached to them, and this emotion that's been building up for years. It might not happen in the beginning, but that's also what they're betting on. They know that the future lies in
so
embedded.
the ability to connect, you know, that part of the business, so the offline piece, the emotional connection to the brand, to actual advertising on the site that will relate to a potential sale.
Yeah, I mean, effectively what they've been doing is taking the same traits as advertising.
Yeah.
So advertising exists for the sole for the, like, one of the reasons that advertising exists is to embed subtle impressions on customers, which will later drive revenue. So they know that, you know, these loyalty programs might not have an effect right now in the present, but they're bidding on the future. They know that if they keep doing this, keep providing all these tools to their customers, really make them feel that they're part of a family, that they'll come back. So you're retaining customers. All of this means that you can get a lot of data, because customers will be more willing to actually use these membership cards or be on log in with their membership card on the online front, which means that all this data that we get will be more available. Now, on the upside, retailers will be able to talk to DSPs and feed in the first party data.
Yeah.
Of course, now this might be on an aggregated level. Maybe you'll have some user cohorts and the data will be segmented into user cohorts, with each cohort maybe representing some similar traits, interests, patterns, structures. And then maybe Facebook, let's say Facebook, will use some kind of similarity tool to find equivalent users exhibiting the same kind of traits.
But I guess the goal here is to take that data point and ingest it into this sort of like attribution model that Nexta has built. And to a certain extent, you've been doing that with some of the clients as well. So like, it's not just on, you know, the retail media solutions you work with on their sort of self-serve model. You're able to take that data and build an amazing attribution model and optimize in real time. But then there's also taking first-party data and being able to activate that off-site, so whether that's walled gardens or open web, and then taking that specific data and optimize, so you can have a full sort of cycle here in terms of optimizing the whole piece.
Precisely. So the off-site data would go into the sales, and then you would also have the on-site data. In-store purchases. Also going into the sales.
So you online purchases, offline purchases.
Exactly.
So the whole sort of cycle, and this is, I suppose, this is the kind of like the dream of retail. And I guess that's the reason why a lot of money is moving that direction, because you have that unique first-party data and those integrations that Nexta has with retailers to enable this part here, which is actually the most interesting part of retail media. This attribution piece is fundamentally the part that's kind of propelling the growth of retail media.
Yeah, I think so as well. I mean, I'll say this in my humble opinion, because I don't want to sound arrogant, but
this is the show to do it.
Yeah. But I really think a lot of in-store attribution is being lost, because if you don't track it, you never know. But a lot of customers, are maybe searching, making some research on the on-site.
They're doing their searching.
Yeah, and then you go to your local retailer. If it's a big brand.
But the percentage of people still buying in store is outweighing the actual online purchases. So this is a key part of the whole process.
So much valuable insight. Yeah. If you can connect the attributions here to the sales done, attributions from the on-site to the sales done in the in-store. And then we'll get a wealth of data, which will again go back to the advertisers and help them really launch some effective campaigns through our system, which allows for effective budget allocation.
And this is what Nexta is doing, and brilliant run through.
And what's even more is that this allows for even more cool optimization tools. Because right now, I mean, the simplest one, is actually budget allocation. Just you know, you maximize something, you minimize something, and then you allocate the budget. But what you could also do is you could actually look at SKUs. And do the same. You could look at products. You could look at placements.
There is so much innovation to be had in this space.
And this all depends on the maturity of the retail media network.
Right.
Because if they don't have the right inventory, the right resources,
or the right technology,
it will be very difficult to make use of these very, very high quality, let's say, predictions, which will help advertisers greatly. So it's for retail media operators, retailers like expanding into retail media. It's pivotal and it's paramount to invest in expanding your retail media structure, retail media network.
Well, I love seeing data scientists get excited about data on Trader Talk TV, and Jonas, that was a brilliant run through of your platform, particularly around those three parts: the integration, optimization, and the attribution, which I think is fundamentally the most important part of retail media. Thank you, Jonas, for your time today. And that was Trader Talk TV, and we will see you next time.